Recorded live on the North Coast, Scotty Does a Show, with guests IFBB Pro MIKE ELY, plus news, today's top 5, and more. And now, putting the hard in hardcore, Scott Marion.
All right, what's up, everybody? What's happening? What it is? What's going down? Welcome to the show. Here, where we keep our ears to the ground and our fingers on the pulse of what's happening out there in today's society. You can call me Coach. You can call me Scott. Feel free to call me Coach Scott if you want. No need to call me Sir, unless, of course, you owe me money. Mr. Marion, if you're nasty. And welcome to the show, everybody. Again, real quick, I want to thank a lifelong friend, a great guest, Joe Howard, being on the show. Yet another guy sitting in front of me that I grew up with that has a bodacious beard that I can't match. But other than that, it's really interesting just to have, again, just an incredible variety of just really amazing and unique people to be on the show. And his career as a stand-up comedian and some of the things that he's experienced, it was awesome to hear and have him share some of that, and of course some of the personal things that we experienced growing up, and also some personal things that he's experienced recently. And it was awesome to get to reunite with him. And again, having this forum to be able to do that is I consider a blessing, and just awesome and exciting for me. So again, you can always take a look around. Things are always going to be looking different here, and again, I call that progress. Although not all change is progress, all progress is change. So having things, keep moving and going forward, that's important to me. So again, things are always going to be looking different. Don't be surprised if there's different looks and sets from time to time. So I like seeing the show grow. Real quick, a Fighting Shape update. I'm proud to announce that I've started going back to doing some one-on-one personal training. I did announce that we are currently, there's a lot of people that are working hard to get the first Fighting Shape Combat Training Center together. Some things, again, I can talk about, some things I can't. It's really awesome. Again, when you work hard and really have a passion for something and bust your butt and build a name and a brand, and it's not just about having a cool look and a cool logo and a cool t-shirt. If you have something that produces results, and when people see value in that, it's awesome. So there are people around me that are, again, being very supportive and patient, and thank you guys for that. Until then, I'm going to be doing, and I already started doing some one-on-one personal training back at my old stomping grounds at Inner Circle Personal Fitness in Wellington. Again, shout out to Joe Bachmore being my first guest on the show here. Lifelong friend, great guy. In light of recent events, I wasn't sure how things were going to progress with that, but I did have, there was a guy named Robbie Cobb, and shout out to you. Robbie graduated from Lear Catholic in 2017. He graduated weeks before I accepted the job there. So I didn't have the opportunity to coach him, but he did come around and he did help and train as much as he could. But this kid, long story short, he just graduated with, I believe it's a structural engineering degree from Ohio Northern. And he's a tank, he's a workhorse, but he's also a hell of a young man. And he reached out to me and said, Coach, I want to train. And I don't know whether or not this kid's going to fight, but there are times that as coaches and as trainers, of course, it's our job to inspire, but when kids reach out and say that they want to work, that inspires me. So I've been training and working with Robbie again. Actually, if you go to the Fighting Shape YouTube page, you'll see the recent video I have. It's fun and exciting to, again, have somebody that's going to work and also process and excuse me, put into motion the information and the guidance that I give. And whether or not this kid ever fights, I'll tell you what I told him. It does not matter to me. Of course, I'd love to see him compete, but more than anything, I want to see him teach. And I don't say that to a lot of athletes. I've known some incredible athletes in and out of the cage that, although they've had great careers, probably have no business ever teaching anybody. And then I've seen some people that are average, maybe above, or maybe even below average as far as performers and athletes that just make to be the best coaches and mentors out there. And Robbie he's the best of both. He's a great young man, great athlete, hell of a hard worker, and whether or not he ever competes, I look forward to teaching him and seeing him progress, and hopefully get in there and at least coach and teach someday. He did share with me that he does want to get into doing some assistant coaching for any high schools here. So again, since I'm not attached to any high schools, if there's anybody out there that is looking for a great recommendation for assistant coach, I can't praise him enough. So if anybody out there wants any more information about him, feel free to reach out to me here. At Inner Circle, if there's anybody out there that's interested in doing some one-on-one personal training, you can feel free to reach out to me at this email address right here, and or reach out to me here at this YouTube page, or a lot of people that I'm in touch with personally through Messenger, although I'm not back on Facebook yet. I can work back and forth on Messenger, of course, through my private line too. Whether you are a member of Inner Circle or not, I can still meet you there and train you. Also, if you are in the Northeast Ohio area, relatively close to Lorain County, Cuyahoga County, I have also been doing what we call Fighting Shape door-to-door. You can see some of the videos there. I've gone and trained. During the pandemic last year, I had some parents reach out to me. Actually, one of which is because of the guest I have here today. He recommended a parent to me, reached out to me, and actually the son that she has reached out to me again. So we're going to be training at Inner Circle. So again, we've talked about it a bit before. As a coach and as a trainer, sometimes we do underestimate the impact that we make, but underestimate the impact that our students make. It goes both ways. So it's inspiring, and thank you guys for reaching out to me. Let's get some work done, and then we'll keep progressing throughout the week. I want to still be able to do 2 podcasts a week. My goal is to be able to have one up on Friday morning and one up on Monday morning, so that way I get you right when your week starts, and I get you right when your weekend starts. And a lot of people are, again, giving just great feedback. It's just been fun and awesome, and again, it gives me a chance to learn something too. And for people coming to and from work, a lot of people don't necessarily watch the show. They'll just put the YouTube on blank and then be able to listen to it in the car. So again, all your feedback has just been awesome. I thank you, everybody, and looking forward to getting some work done there at Inner Circle. And again, shout out to Joe Bachmore for that. And just again, another just incredible example of and somebody that I've been around their family pretty much my entire life, and he was the guy that gave me the opportunity to bring Fighting Shape actually here to the States, and being able to pick it up from here and keep it progressing is it's fun, exciting, and humbling for me. So, which brings me to being able to bring my guest in here today. The word, he's gonna love it when I blow him up here. The word legend gets thrown around pretty lightly in a lot of businesses in a lot of areas, and you can dismiss it, doesn't matter to me, I don't give a damn. What I mean by legend is there being a guy who grew up on a wrestling mat. There were things that always fascinated me as far as being an athlete. I was always fascinated by people that other athletes that are doing things that I don't want to say that are impossible for me to do, but if not impossible, very, very difficult. Like when I see LeBron go from the foul line, I see a human being doing something I can't do. When I see Michael Phelps he's got more gold medals that can fit around his neck, I see somebody's doing something I can't do. So there's always been that awe factor. And of course, when you get into working out and lifting weights and things, there's always the stigma of how much can you bench, or how much can you curl, or how much can you squat. And then somebody walks in the gym and everybody has to rubberneck and turn. Well, I was a guy that, again, growing up in wrestling mats and growing up in that environment in more of the combat, although we did some weightlifting and things, I never really competed in any real fitness or bodybuilding. But there was a guy in Northeast Ohio here that everybody had heard about. There was a guy whose reputation preceded him. And when the opportunity came for me to take fighting shape and move it from Inner Circle, is solely where I was at. Again, I was blessed to be able to have a couple of great coaches down there in Wellington. Shout out to Jessica and Valerie for and Valerie, I believe, knows you as well. Mm-hmm. To be able to pick up those reins. So give me the opportunity to be able to go to World Gym. And I walked into World Gym, and even though the owner was somebody that I had experience with, there was a of course I'm walking in, holy shit, this is Big Mike's gym. There was that reputation that preceded him, and make no mistake, I mean that was his gym, and there was a clear gap between experience, between results, and also, quite frankly, number of clients that everybody else had there. So I was, of course, being somebody that's bringing my brand and my style that's in there. I'm going to look at this guy and see how is he successful. The reason why he was successful is he stood out by doing his thing. And when I showed up at World Gym, even though, again, the owner was somebody that I had a relationship with, and I still get along with him personally as a friend, immediately when I came in with bringing fighting shape in there with the family-friendly MMA, there was a bit of trying to be pigeonholed into, you're going to be a salesman, you're going to sell memberships, you want you to do this. And it was a short period of time, but there was a period of time when I was trying to be pigeonholed into there. But there was a guy that was a bit of a champion of mine from the beginning, as far as, no, this guy's, his exact words were, Scott, this guy's legit. I showed him some of the things that I had done with the classes, having as many as 50 people showing up there in Inner Circle. The fight, competing professionally, internationally at 43, almost 44, and getting the results that I was getting. And that was after my first year coaching at Leary Catholic, where the entire team made it to the district tournament. So we were having some success. Mike was a guy that was like, no, this guy's doing something different. And one thing that I won't forget, when in 2018 I took 3 fighters down to the island of Curacao for the Honor Fight League. None of those guys had ever competed in mixed martial arts ever in their life. The 3 of them combined had 2 years of junior varsity wrestling experience, but I was able to take them down there. But there was something that I was really proud of that I did before we left, which was I went around the gym there at World Gym, and I interviewed the staff, some of the trainers, coaches that are there, and they all gave, good luck, guys, here's and I didn't show that to the fighters until we were down on the island. And then we were down on the island, one guy in particular saw that, and I mean, he was taken back, and he's like, I didn't even know Mike even knew my name. So the point is, when you, and this is something that I preach as a coach, and this is something that I'd like to preach as a human. The bottom line is, if you show up, I don't give a damn what it is, whether you're working in the gym, whether you're working in the cage, whether you're working on an art piece or a movie or a competition. The bottom line is, if I have worked harder than you, not only do I have an advantage, if you don't give me respect, I know you're a liar. And it was immediately, the feedback, and it was Mike's feedback that everybody was just blown away by, because he was the star of the gym. And then we had great performances. I'm not saying we had great performances just because of that, but the point is, because we worked hard and we were prepared, there were people that were noticing that the guys didn't realize. And again, at the risk of sounding redundant, we make a bigger impact than sometimes we realize that we do. For sure. And to be able to get that kind of acknowledgement, that kind of feedback, from Mike was awesome for me, and to be able to continue that here is great. So again, I can sit here, I say this at every show, I can sit here and praise this guy all day long, but without further ado, my guest here this evening, IFBB Pro, Big Mike Eli. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Scotty. It's good to see you, brother, and good to see everybody out there.
Yeah, we're trying to get as close to there as you can. So
Okay, got it.
there we go. Yeah, it's amazing how like you go from here to there. That it makes a big difference. But yeah, it's that was one, experience I just shared, which I've talked to you about. It was it made an impact on those guys, and of course it should. And regardless of where I am with them now, that's different. The one thing that I try to do as a coach and as a person is lead by example.
Right.
I don't ask my athletes to do anything that I won't do or haven't done. And the thing that I was really impressed with seeing you there at the gym was not only the loyalty that your clients have, but I drew a in my mind, which I'm going to share with you now, a correlation between what you do when you teach and what I do when I teach. Mm-hmm. Meaning, when you're training these young bodybuilders on how to pose, I would sit there and watch that.
Right.
And it was, to me, it's the absolute same thing as watching a dance instructor. And when I'm teaching people how to fight, how to box, how to grapple, there's an absolute flow, and there's an absolute like the saying goes, strength, speed, agility, all that stuff, youth, all that stuff is great. Technique,
right,
is what it's all about. Whether you're technique in your nutrition, obviously technique in your resistance training, technique in your cardio, technique in your performance. And I saw some people I think we worked together about a year, right, roughly. I saw people during that time really change. Mm-hmm. Not only, and this is what I mean by the correlation. Not only physically change. There's the word is swagger. Mm-hmm. There's just a strut that it's the same thing when I get around a fighter, because we work our butt off, and we know how to defend ourselves, but it's just there ain't nothing that's going to come at us that's really going to intimidate us because of what we've done and how hard we've worked. Right. And seeing your athletes do that, again, I was in awe of that. And the fighters I had at that time, they were young and new, and they were all intimidated, but it was really cool to see some of your athletes progress and stuff. And then it's again, I could sit here and praise you all day long, but that was just some feedback to that. Was just again, as a guy that's never and even that was a time when I let my body go, but I like staying in shape, but I never actually did that. And right, if you would have talked to me when I was 16, I was, oh yeah, I'm going to bodybuild, and I'm going to do Olympia, and I'm going to do this and do that, and then I was under the perception of that a lot of the pro bodybuilders were all 6'8", right, 7 foot. I was into the pro wrestling mindset. Right. And then I get around, guys like I've been around Cutler, right, who I'm eye to eye when right, I talk to him. Yeah, maybe 5'8", maybe. Yeah. So it's the same thing like when I was eye to eye and I got to assist Sylvester Stallone when I worked right in Beverly Hills. I'm eye to eye with that guy, but there's always a perception. Yeah, the persona's larger than life. Of course. Well, look, and by the way, for those of you at home, don't need to adjust your set. That's real. This is not special effects right here. Yeah, those are real. So it's and the I guess if there would be like the monster, pun intended, question to ask somebody that's had the success that you've had, I've heard people say things to me like, "Oh God, I don't ever want to look like that," right? Or is that's or maybe that's impossible, right? Or oh, he's got to be doing whatever, right? There's again, I come from a background. If you're a dirty, rotten cage fighter, well, again, right, I just talked about a kid with an engineering degree who's considering getting into the cage, right? So that stigma, although it's there's ways to get through that. What's been like the biggest thing for you to overcome in that world, as far as has it been? Then again, there's also the perception that you're so damn big, maybe no one's going to say like any of that type of stuff to your face too. I don't know.
Well, it depends. You do get people say things. It depends on the situation, sure. But just like with anything, you can't be doing it for other people. You got to do it for yourself. Okay.
True. Yeah.
And and the way to overcome everything is, you have your goals in mind that are for you. Or okay, maybe you and your athletes have goals in mind that are for them, and the general public might not understand that, and that's fine. They don't understand what you do either. Okay, because they're not in that world.
Sure.
So you just have to stay focused on what you're doing. You have to persevere. You have to have discipline. And there's things I don't understand. Okay, I've seen things that I don't understand. Different sports, whatever the case might be, different looks I don't like, and I'm like, well, but you're looking at one of the best in the world. I'm like, well, just because it's not my preference, I really respect the hell out of the hard work and discipline that went into that. So I'm seeing a great thing there. Even though it's not my preference, I respect the hell out of the hard work and the discipline and the perseverance that it took to get there. So bodybuilding is not for everybody, for sure. Figure is not for everybody. Bikini, whatever the case might be, is not for everybody. But fitness should be for everybody.
Agreed. Well, and that's if there's an opportunity, or has been an opportunity, for the world to talk about fitness,
right?
It's been during this pandemic, but I've heard very little of talk about getting your body healthy.
Right.
Very little. The biggest.
And I preached that right from the beginning.
Right. Well, and people who did were kind of silenced a little bit. Again,
right.
This is not to get into where anybody's agenda or any.
Right. We're not looking to do that.
I don't care about that. I care about just what I can reach out, touch, see, and feel.
Right.
And there were people that, for whatever reason, where that information was not getting out of. You know what? The biggest problem is, number one, obesity.
Right.
Number one, the people that died or dying of COVID
right.
is obesity.
Any disease. Well, any disease out there, obesity is your number one cause of death.
Of course, yeah.
Well, heart disease, diabetes. There's so many different issues where that's probably your biggest pandemic is obesity, especially in the United States.
Well, yeah, and famously, I talked about it on the show before when I was living down in the islands. One day there were two cruise ships came in. One was the American ship, one was a German ship. And I kid you not, it was like silhouettes. You could tell right. the dramatic difference between, you could tell who was from where.
Right.
The American people were all overweight. This is the thing, and again, not to get into, America, but the bottom line is, we live in a country of incredible convenience.
For sure.
So when you're talking about, and again, we're in a bit of a small town here, but even from here, you hop in your car in 10 minutes, you can get any kind of fast food you want.
Right.
Any kind. So when you have instant gratification for, I want to eat this, or I want to drink this, or I want to do this, but the downside is of what we do,
right.
It doesn't happen like that.
Right.
So getting somebody motivated, I was talking before, especially with high school kids.
Right.
They live in a world. Again, if you handed this phone to me when I was 15 and
right.
it could do what it could do,
it'd be a different world.
I'm out. You wouldn't
right.
see me.
Right.
Why would you? So I understand that, but what is the, because again, I've seen the results that you've had.
Right.
Other than leading by example, what would you say is the number one way to preach to somebody, hey, what you do today is going to pay off 18 months from now?
Well, honestly, you have to find that what makes everybody tick individually.
Sure.
As a coach, as a trainer, same thing for myself. Everybody's different. You have to be able to get in there and see what's going to motivate them, what's going to hold them accountable, and that really takes a lot of detail and attention to put into people, and it takes a lot of skill to realize what's going to be their trigger to keep them going. And I found
it's case by case.
Yeah, but I found overall, people can tell whether or not you're important to them. If you're just doing a job because you're getting paid, or if you're passionate about it, and you care about their goals, they pick up on that. And I had somebody say to me before, said, it's like the reason Big Mike, besides knowledge and skill and what he does, he gets these people that work so hard and transform, it's because they don't want to let him down, because they see how much he's putting into them. Yeah. And I've had clients tell me that, it's like, man, I wanted to quit so many times, but you had so much faith in me, and you put so much into me that I didn't want to let you down. And
you can't put a price tag on that. When I had Joe Bachmore on here, I shared that one of the kids I coached at EC, who he was a work. He was a work in progress. He incredibly gifted athlete, and just guts for days. But I never knew I believed it, but I never knew that there was a real appreciation for it until he lost his last match.
Right.
And we had a moment, and I mean, it's one of the greatest things that I've ever experienced as a coach. And so when you say, and you talk about taking it case by case and figuring out what somebody's motivation is, sometimes somebody will tell you one thing,
right,
and the motivation is something completely
different. Right.
Right. I was just listening to I listened to Chael Sonnen's podcast, and he just did a great bit where he talked about the relationship between a coach and an athlete.
Yeah, I like his podcast. I listen to this too.
He's great. It's a recent one, came up today. If you get a chance to check it out. He was talking about in the MMA world, which I'm choosing to not comment on. There's an issue between Diego Sanchez and his coach Josh Fabia. You can go on YouTube and see all it's.
Okay.
If you're into voyeurism, it's interesting. If you're into true coaching and true mentoring, it's kind of sad.
Okay.
But and Chael talked about, and I agree with him. There's a relationship between a coach and an athlete that is on the level, and sometimes even better than a brother. A parent sometimes.
Mike Tyson Customato.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, and that he was never the same
after that. Yeah.
Right. I take nothing away from Buster.
Right.
I met the man. He's super sweet to me.
Right.
Awesome, great guy. Shout out to you. Great guy. Mike Tyson was different. If he would have fought Mike Tyson 60 days before that,
it would have never happened.
No, it would have been a completely different experience.
Right.
So there's a level of trust, and it's an intimate relationship.
Right.
More than any, because again, you're literally seeing people almost naked.
Right. Well, you have to. I mean, for anything you do, you have to have complete trust in your coach, and you have to put it all in their hands, and you have to have a coach that you trust in order for it to work. Because if you're halfway listening to your coach and you're second guessing them and you're asking other people, it's going to be a disaster. You have to find a coach that you trust and put it all in his hands and trust him and let him do his thing for you.
You're right, and it's sad. Again, I don't have this forum to get into throwing mud or anything. I had an athlete that at one point in time, both in front of me and in front of others, and even on camera, he said, "The reason why I have success is because I listen to my coach."
Right.
And then decided to not.
Well, it happens. It's sad, but sometimes it happens.
It is. Well, again, at the risk of sounding redundant, what Joe Bachmore said something to me that it really took me a while to understand, which is just because you train somebody does not mean they're your friend.
No.
A lot of times it does. Like
right.
We're talking about that relationship. A lot of times it's more than a friendship. A lot of times I've seen people come from, I'll give you an example in the MMA world. Jose Aldo, this kid grew up on the streets.
Right.
And was a soccer player, walked into an MMA gym, fell in love with it, and literally lived in the gym and pushed a broom because it was a way for him to survive. What did happen? Ended up being one of the greatest to ever do it.
Right.
And he had a great team, and a great coach, and a great school there. So there are, I've seen just incredible stories with that. Then I've seen some where, and had an experience to myself where, wow, this happened. I did, and again, I could sit here and talk about, I did this and this and this and this and this and this and this.
You put a lot into it, man.
Of course. So, getting to your point, although yes, the best way to get those results and to get that loyalty is to lead by example, bust your butt, and do for others. But there are times that even if you do,
you can't make everybody appreciate what you do, Scotty.
Sure.
And many times, I've seen this happen a lot of times too. They appreciate you at first, and then as they start getting success, they start believing all the hype around them, and they end up ungrounded, and they start believing their hype too much, and they start thinking too much of themselves, and that's when they fall by the wayside.
Agreed. It's the term that I use is the leeches.
Right.
And in this world, people are fame hungry more than anything else in any avenue. I don't give a damn if it's music, movies. Right. It's all about getting people to notice, getting clicks, getting this. It's on the same thing. By the way, if you like what you're seeing and hearing, go ahead and click like and subscribe right there. Shameless plug, why not?
Gotta do it, brother.
In this world, it's all about that. So if anybody gets some notoriety, some fame, and you come from a background of struggle.
Right.
All of a sudden, in a very short period of time, you're surrounded by yes people telling you you're the greatest out there. You
Right.
don't need him. You don't need them. You should do this. You should do that.
Well, we were just mentioning Mike Tyson. That happened to him when he went with Don King. You know, the same exact thing happened.
Yeah, and thankfully, being a Mike Tyson fan, I like that he's come out the other end and
Yeah,
where he
right.
is now.
Exactly.
It's awesome because there was a point in time when he was in bad shape.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and because of that, there are, again, that goes both ways. You can be a coach, mentor, manager, trainer, and do everything you can for an athlete and get your heart broken. And then you can be an athlete and do everything you know, and bust your butt and do everything you can for your trainer.
And have the wrong coach.
And have somebody that's going to take advantage
Right.
of you or neglect or whatever.
Right.
It's so that does go both ways for sure.
Well, definitely give advice to athletes coming up, and even, you know, in anything you do, if you do start gaining success, is best sort of advice I can tell you: stay grounded and stay humble, and remember where you came from.
Yep.
You know, because that can all be taken away in the blink of an eye.
There's a great example of that. Again, of course, my background in the MMA world, Khabib.
Yeah.
When Khabib and Conor fought, which by the way they fought in the same night we were down in Curacao.
Right.
Khabib, that's the reason why he retired right after his father passed. You talk
Right.
about a mentor. And his father was sick with COVID and passed while he was preparing for Gaethje. So when he said he was going to retire, I wasn't shocked. But that was, you talk about a guy that's grounded.
Yeah.
He still lives with his parents.
Right.
He's with the same woman forever.
And that's probably why he was the best MMA fighter in history.
I
mean, that's my opinion,
well,
but
I agree. There's an argument for others, and I'll entertain that sometime. Bottom line, the man has lost 2 rounds in his whole career.
right.
Rounds, not fights.
Not fights, rounds. Yeah.
So in the end, and in that division, arguably the most talented division out there.
Right.
And again, I understand feedback, but look, that was an example of Conor. What Conor does is he gets people emotional,
Right.
and that didn't work on that man.
No, he was grounded.
Right, and for that exact reason. And make no mistake, Khabib, his manager, just said the other day that he turned down a Mayweather fight for $100 million. There, to quote Alfred from The Dark Knight, some man can't be bought.
Right.
Some man can't be reasoned with. Some men, now he said some men want to watch the world burn, which is true. Habib just wanted to prove he was the best.
Right.
And he did that.
He definitely did.
So there's there's a keeping yourself grounded. There's a reason why when I'm having issues and problems in my personal life, not only in my professional life, I reach out to my coaches
Right.
and trainers and the guys that I competed with.
For sure.
They're still my closest friends.
Right.
There's a brotherhood and a kinship, and also, quite frankly, no bullshit. Because when you go out there and it's again a term that gets thrown around pretty lightly, but blood, sweat, and tears, and you literally do that
Right.
with each other, there's a bond there, and it's nice. And
Right. That's awesome.
yeah, and vice versa. When they reach out to me, it's great. And you're right. I've seen athlete after athlete just when they get a little taste of success. Again, Khabib is a great example. When you look at most athletes that have massive success, most of them have the same coach, same team, same
Right.
athlete, same nutritionist, same the friends, family members, same people hanging around
Right.
before the success happened. Now again, I understand, I get it, I'm a man, I understand that if you become a professional athlete and you have the opportunity to date a movie star, I get it,
Right.
of course, I get it. By the way, that goes both ways. You can be a professional athlete as a woman or an actress as a woman and date whoever you want.
Right.
You can do that. Absolutely, I understand that. But when you get yourself in that environment, look what happened to Ronda Rousey.
Right.
She had a meteoric rise and had a massive success right away, very quick, in something that was new.
Right.
And the leeches came in, Hollywood came calling, and had a bunch of people around her saying, "You're the best." The problem, in my opinion, is when the athlete starts saying they're the best.
Right. That's why I said they start believing their own hype. They start
Right.
believing, because everybody's going to build them up and they're going to blow, they're going to
Sure.
blow them up to be the best. When you start believing that, is when you have a problem. Because you know what? No matter how good you are, there's somebody out there better, there's somebody out there working harder, and no matter how good you are, there's going to be a time when you lose it. So you got to appreciate every moment you have, work hard, be humble about where you came from and where you're going to go, and be appreciative of everybody that helped you get there.
Absolutely. And my take on that is, you don't tell me you're the best. We tell you you're the best.
Exactly.
That's the way it works. We tell you you're the best by, number one, we're going to buy tickets to come watch you.
Right.
We're going to buy pay-per-view to watch you. We're going to buy your t-shirt. We're going to buy your hot sauce. We're going to buy your booze, whatever it is that you have, which I buy all that stuff. I like when I get around fighters, and part of what I wanted to establish in establishing with Fighting Shape and the Swarm Fight Team is an opportunity for these fighters to not only have some success and make a little bit of money with some merchandise and a cool look while they're still an amateur, but also, what if they don't become a world champion? What if they don't
make the top
but they still want to, and they age out. Again, there's a reason why you don't see 50-year-old men playing outside linebacker.
You don't see that.
You're going to get hurt or worse. So there's a window of opportunity, and you'll see some athletes, famously, I just mentioned with Diego Sanchez, this guy who's aging out of his career, he's not going to be a world champion. And they all of a sudden turn around, maybe they weren't great with their money, maybe they trusted the wrong people, they were taken advantage of. There's all that possibility there, and there's that, what the hell do I do? So part of our plan with Fighting Shape is, if I train somebody and coach somebody and we go on a run, we turn pro, maybe we co-main on a fight night or something and have some success, maybe even crack the top 15 or beat somebody that fights for a title at some point. Have some success, but don't become a world champion, don't fight for a title. If we have that kind of success, but then the career's over, what do? Well, one thing I want to establish is, again, like I talked about with Robbie, I want to be able to train people to not only compete, but to teach. And, somebody that when they're done with their career, I can say, hey, guess what? Based off of, there aren't really retirement plans and 401ks for fighters and stuff, but I can say, guess what? This is the amount that you've brought into us through your purses that we can show you. And based off of that, that's worth a franchise or two. So you're done fighting, but you get maybe a couple franchises. And as a pro fighter, they are yours, even though they're our brand. But then you can sell your t-shirts there, which you make money. Again, it's the idea that
they can build their brand and build their business.
You can still, by staying with me as a coach and as a trainer, my, I guess, reward, if you will, for you is, and also, I'll call it also my ulterior motive, is I give you what I can, which is to continue my brand. Obviously, we've had success with it and you enjoy it. It doesn't mean you have to accept it. But if you do, great. Then again, because I hate to break it to you, we all go in the ground at some point. And I want to have something that's going to outlive me. So if I've got great coaches and teachers and people out there, that's the inside look, if you will, is what I want to accomplish with Fighting Shape. So when you talk about athletes that age out, that's a tough thing to take, and that's why that last fight that I took, I've said it before, the biggest reason why I took it is because I knew that if I didn't do it then, that was going to be it. I was 43, almost 44 now. But you recently had a comeback.
Yeah, I did.
Talk. What was, okay, first and foremost, I understand the goal of competition. I understand the drive. But you're talking about motivation. Like, what is it that motivates everybody's a little bit different. What was it that triggered you, that got you to say, you know what, hell with it, I'm gonna come back and do it again? Was there a moment? Was there just a gradual thing? But there had to be. Clearly, there was at some point you went from no to yes.
Well, obviously, anybody that's ever become a professional athlete has to have some type of drive that's beyond normal to get there, because that is a hard road ahead. Very few people make it to that level. So you have to have a certain type of drive, and that drive doesn't ever really leave you. Okay, we might age, we might start to fall apart, but the heart usually stays. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of times that's the challenge as a coach, is getting that message across that you shouldn't fight anymore.
There comes a time to hang it up.
Well, again, I've said from here down, I'm slower every day. From here up, barring any illness, which hopefully doesn't happen, I get better. I'm a better fighter now than I was 4 years ago. From here up.
For sure, mentally.
that's a challenge. So
Right.
what was it? Was there a conversation or something?
Well, here's the way it went down. Back in 2015, I had a terrible accident where I completely ruptured my right pec and my left tricep at the same time.
Oh, what happened?
I was working out. I was on the bench press, and the right pec tore. It just snapped and rolled up. And when that happened, the bar started. The other side started flying back by my head. And I was yelling for my spotter to grab it. He was nervous. He didn't grab it. So meanwhile, I got 500 pounds coming towards my head with this arm. So I doing like this to push it away from my head, and that popped the tricep. So I tore my right pec and my left tricep at the same time. I had to have 2 surgeries. One to reattach my pec, one to reattach my tricep. I was in a sling and a brace. Had no use.
At that time, were you preparing for another competition, or were you still active, or what?
I was still active. I was to the point where I was going to do a couple more and hang it up. I made a good run in the pros, and I was to the point where I was starting to get a lot of recognition.
Sure.
I was doing well. I was like, okay, I'm getting older now. I'm going to finish up this year. I'm going to give it hell and then see where it takes me. And then that happened. And so I ended up in a sling and a brace, no use of my upper body. I was told there's no way I'd ever be able to get back to where I was. There's no way I'd ever compete again. You got to retire. The doctor said I would never be able to regain my form. So obviously I went through some hell there. I retired and just coached my clients, trained my other athletes, got them in shape for shows. And in the back of my mind, I always had in the back of my mind that, I'm going to come back, because I don't want to go out because I was forced out. I want to go out on my own. I want to go out because, doing it the way I want to do it, not because I was forced out.
Right,
because
you decide, you go on your terms.
Exactly. So, so
few athletes do that.
Right. So obviously you seen me when we worked together. I was still training, working out hard.
Yeah.
Always, and even though I was retired, I was still working out hard and coaching my clients, training my clients. And then finally I said, okay, I'm going to give it one last run. It just kind of clicked one day. I was sitting down talking to my clients. They're like, why don't you do another show? I'm like, nah, I'm retired. Hey, come on, do one more. And I thought about it that night. I said, man, what the hell? I'll do one more.
It's amazing how when one person says do it, but once you hear it the 100th time,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe it's just
so I think
like that.
Yeah, so I think it just hit a point one day where it's like, okay, let me do it. And training
before your body won't.
Right, exactly. Because I'm beat up. I have injuries that I work around. Sure. It is what it is. We get older. But I do well work around these injuries. So like, okay, what the heck? I'll give it one more run. I don't expect to do well. I'm older now. I've had injuries. All I want to do is give it my best and retire on my own terms. Not retire because I was forced out. Okay, so I got to work, started training, and man, as soon as I started training for a show, it was like a fire lit under me. It was like taking a fish and putting it back in water once it's been out of water. I just loved it.
Fountain of youth.
Exactly. I just loved it. I felt great.
And the challenge is as we get older is the recovery of anything. But once that motor is broken back in.
Right. And I did more things for recovery. I was smart. I was getting dry needling. I was getting chiropractic work. I was getting massages. I was doing cupping. Doing everything I could.
Cryo for a while.
Cryotherapy. Doing everything I could to help my recovery. Yeah. Because I am older now. And but once I started prepping, and anybody that's ever done a bodybuilding prep will say, that's the hardest, most grueling thing you ever did. How could you say that's enjoyable? Because it's my thing, It's a challenge to me.
Look how you look, though.
That type of
it's superhuman. Almost.
And that
amazing.
And that type of discipline to do something that 99.9% of the population doesn't have the discipline to do, and to make changes, it's just it motivates you. It guides me. It drives me. So it's like I help other people do that. Now I was doing it for myself again, and I know as I was getting into my prep and really getting into it, obviously I have clients that compete, and I remember one of my IFBB Pro clients said to me, you know what? All these years you've been training me, I thought I prepped hard. She said, watching you prep, I realized I'm not prepping hard enough. She goes, you really motivated me to start prepping hard, because I was in it.
Yeah, I do. I would give my athletes shit because I'm like, you're literally half my age.
Right.
I'm warming up. You're literally half my age. I'm retired, and I'll go out and on a warm up. I'm gonna go run a 5K.
Right.
Warm up. For you, that's your workout.
Right. That's what I tell these young guys when they want to work out with me. I'm like, also, and they're dying. Like, we can't keep going. I'm like, I'm just asking you to keep up with the old man here.
Right. Yeah. And like you don't. Yeah. I say the same thing. I'm old. I'm beat up. I have obviously injuries and things like that I've accumulated over the years too. Like, and I'm out working you.
But one thing you never lose is that heart.
No, that doesn't go away.
And that's what drives you to do that.
Right. Right.
You know, so as I prepped for that show and I was getting ready,
that's the challenge.
I remember I was 1 week out, and one of my clients came out to help me get through my last leg day. He's like, I'm gonna come work out with you. And I didn't know this at the time. He lived all the way in Willowick, and I was out this way.
Oh, wow.
And his car was broken. He Ubered and didn't tell me. He Ubered all the way out to the gym to push me through my last leg workout before my show.
That's over an hour away for those of you out there.
And then he put a post about this. He said, you know, I was sitting there. He said my face was all sunken in, drawn, my head down, barely keep my eyes open. And I looked up at him and said, man, I love this shit. So anyways, you get to the show, and I didn't expect to do well. Honestly, I didn't even tell anybody I was doing it. And I showed up, everybody seen me there. I stripped down, next you know, all these reporters are coming over doing interviews, everything else. Like, cause I was making my comeback, cause I kept it quiet. I wasn't telling anybody. You know?
I didn't know.
I didn't post it on social media, nothing. Yeah. I stayed covered up. I showed up at the show and I stripped down, and it was like, holy shit.
It's awesome.
So, and
well, again, for those out there, whether you're into writing or science fiction or movies or whatever, or music or performances, one thing that's important is the reveal.
Right.
So when you keep things quiet like that, yeah. But again, in Hollywood, the challenge is keep things quiet. All of a sudden, here comes the teaser. That's cool.
And you know what, Scotty? I wasn't looking for attention. I was doing this for me. That's why I didn't post it. That's why I stayed covered up.
That's what makes it so beautiful, though. Because that's a legit thing.
It was.
That's what I mean about the reveal. That wasn't a forced, put on a show. This was, I'm doing this for me.
Right. It was
That's
just.
What makes it so
it was just a way for me to put an exclamation point at the end of my career.
Yeah.
And so I get there, and lo and behold, I get on stage, and in bodybuilding they do call outs. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, you want to be your first call out. Your first call out means you're in the mix. So usually they call out 5, then they'll call out another 5. So I'm standing there, you know, we go through our mandatories. They call my number in the first call out. I'm like, holy shit, I'm going to place in this show, okay? Because I'm going up against other pros, you know?
What would be the safe age difference? Were you the oldest guy on there?
Oh, yeah, by far.
At least
20 years.
Oh, I was going to say at least 10.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Wow.
So anyways, yeah, at least, well, let's say at least 10 to 15 years.
Still a decade plus is...
Right. So I get the first call out, okay? Now, when they're judging you, the person they put in the middle is usually the person they're judging for first, okay? And they put everybody around them, you know, because they do a call out, then they move people around.
This makes sense because now that you're describing, because I've watched, again, I've been on the outside, but I've watched some bodybuilding presentation. Of course, I got to hop on YouTube and see that. So the guy in the middle is the one
that they're at least comparing for first, okay?
Gotcha. Okay.
So they got the one in the middle and the 2 people on the side. That's usually first, second, third.
Sure.
Okay, and they might move them around, okay?
Depending on how they finish and perform.
Yeah.
But traditionally, the guy in the middle finishes.
That's usually your pretty good chance at their first place. So I get the first call on the end. I hit a couple poses. They move me over. I hit a couple more poses. They move the guy in the middle out. And they put me in the middle. I'm like, it was surreal. I'm like, wow, I just got put in the middle. And so
you weren't expecting that at all.
No. So pre-judging's over. I know I'm in the mix, okay, because I was put in the middle. So I'm thinking, okay, and the pictures are already up on the internet. I'm studying the pictures. I'm being overcritical of myself, trying to fix what I can do, you know, for the finals. And I'm just like over-examining them. And then the finals come, and I won. You know, and I couldn't believe it. I had tears in my eyes. I'm like, at 47 years old, I won an IFBB Pro show against some of the best in the world, and I qualified for the Mr Olympia. And I was just hoping to make the top 10.
Right. Would you say that would not the exclamation point for sure?
Right.
Would you say that was the highlight of your career?
Second highlight. Second.
Okay.
The first highlight was when I won nationals and turned pro.
Sure. Well, yeah.
Because to win the national title. So that was first, okay, and then that was definitely second.
What was the year difference between winning nationals and then winning an IFBB Pro?
9 years.
Wow.
9 years.
That reminds me of like when Arnold took the time off and came back in '80.
Right.
And went toe to toe with Lou.
Right, exactly.
Of course, the story of pumping iron, famously.
Right.
And of course, when I was a kid, Arnold was the man, and in some respects, I guess always will be.
Oh, he'll always be the man.
Bill Burr put it best when he said, You go to another country where you can't speak the language, get famous for lifting weights, become a movie star, and marry into your royalty.
Well, when he
couldn't do that.
He came over here with $20 in his pocket, couldn't speak English. Bodybuilding was an unknown sport.
Yeah.
You know, he came over here in the late 60s. It was an unknown sport. Mr. Olympia at that time got $800. Now, if you win Mr. Olympia, you get $450,000. You know, plus the endorsements and of course. So if you win Mr. Olympia, you're a millionaire, obviously.
Sure.
Back then, they made $1,000. That's what they got for Mr. Olympia. You know, so.
But it wasn't about the money.
No, it wasn't. But the fact that he came here in a sport that was at that time considered a freak show, nobody paid any attention to it, and became the. And I seen a video of him when he first came to America, and they got a little camera around him, like, and they were kind of like mocking him, like, "What are you gonna do?" He's like, "First, I'm gonna become the best bodybuilder in the world." He goes, "Then I'm." He goes, "Then I."
Black and white video.
Yeah. And he goes, "Then I'm gonna become the best actor in the world." He goes, "Then I'm gonna go into politics." And that's exactly what he did.
He's probably in his 20s when he said that.
Right.
Yeah.
He won 7 Mr. Olympia, so he was the best bodybuilder in the world. He went on to acting and became the highest paid actor. So at that time, he was the best actor. Then he went into politics and became the governor of California.
When I had the opportunity to actually be able, when I worked in Beverly Hills, he came in the store 3 times that I worked in. The third time he came in there, and we didn't wear name tags, and this was a high-end store. The third time he came in there, "How you doing, Scott?"
Wow.
And it was one of those, I'm sure I don't think he'd be able to pick me out of a lineup now.
Right.
It was when he would come from Sacramento to LA, and he would come and shop. Our store was the store that he would come and shop in, because at the time his wife, we had collectible silver that she was into. So he would always come and look at the timepieces that we had.
Right.
And the thing that got me about him, I remember the way I would describe him. If you just landed on this planet and didn't know anything about anybody, and if you were a human being from another planet, you landed here, so you weren't freaked out by humans, but and you just saw Schwarzenegger just walking around, you'd be like, there's something important about that guy.
Yeah, he has this charisma about him.
There's
electricity, charisma. You can't even explain it.
He's I've been fortunate in my life and in my career to have been around just very famous people.
Right.
Being around Arnold was an experience that I had a duh moment, but of course, outwardly I'm being professional and I'm assisting him and taking care of him and things. The one thing I remember that was funny, the owner of the store had to tell him one time, at least once that I remember, that he was not allowed to smoke a cigar inside the store.
He told Arnold that, huh?
Arnold, I mean, I remember him, he wasn't expecting to be allowed to, but he was trying.
He was Arnold.
Yeah, he was trying to. I'm sure there are other stores there on Rodeo Drive that would probably let him do that.
Right.
Our store did not. There we go. This thing. Work in progress, people. All right. Yeah, again, I don't think he'd be able to pick me out of a lineup, but that was just the experience I had with him. There was a true presence, not even an energy. There was a presence about it, and it's not just because he had people around him keeping an eye out. He was just. It looked like his feet didn't touch the ground.
Right.
Would you say that Arnold would be the guy that was the biggest inspiration for you to get into bodybuilding, or was there somebody else?
I mean, Arnold is definitely like, I don't care what era you're from, he's like the person that's, everybody's inspiration. Even if you've had other inspirations, there's no way you can be a bodybuilder at any era and not be inspired by Arnold because of what he accomplished and what he did. It's truly amazing. Would his physique today be comparable today? No, because just like anything else, everything evolves and advances. Although he had an amazing physique, trained.
Was he truly like ahead of his time with his?
Oh, he was. Yeah. He was. But training evolves, nutrition evolves. All that evolves. So that physiques evolve. Are they better now? Well, they're bigger. They're more muscular. Whatever the case might be. Right. But Arnold, with just his persona, what he accomplished, and what he did is a whole nother level. Bodybuilding would definitely not be where it's at if it wasn't for him. It wasn't on the map, and he put it on the map. Well, him and Joe Weider. Joe Weider did a lot for all the athletes and he started getting them making money. But Arnold put it on the map, and he made it acceptable for mainstream by converting bodybuilding into his acting career. And now, bodybuilders are respected.
Oh, well, again, there's there's a level of discipline, especially on the nutrition side.
Yes.
I mean, take nothing away from the physical work and the physical training and all of that.
That's the easy part next to nutrition.
I think so. That's the feedback that the biggest pushback that I get from combat athletes is cutting weight.
Right. Guess
what? It all sucks, but we all have to do it. It's the way it goes. Otherwise, pick another sport.
Right.
And I've had my body fat percentage down pretty low, but not to like an Olympia level. I've been under 8% before.
Right.
But getting down to under 4.
Yeah.
I can't. And for people out there, it's only 4%. Let me tell you, that's like when you hear the difference between a 4.5 and a 5.0 earthquake.
Right.
It's 3.5 times as challenged. It's deadly.
And when I was competing, I would get down to about 3%, 2.5 to 3%. And let me tell you what it takes to get down there. Your body. You're taking your body to a level it doesn't know it can go to. So you feel like death to get it that low. Yeah. You're not going to die, but you feel like death. And your body, you're tired, you're irritable.
That's the thing is when you're sucking all that weight out and you're dehydrating yourself. Right. It's for people that have never experienced that. It feels like you're literally going through a fight. You're that beaten up and that tired and that exhausted. The example, if you watch the video from the Curacao trip, a couple of those guys had to cut weight.
Right.
So we had to sauna suit on
in
the sauna, and I said, this is going to feel weird. Your heart is going to start going crazy. You're going to feel like you're doing burpees.
Right.
But you're confusing your body, and you're getting But it's well, I'm sure there's people out there hearing and listening, watching this and listening to this. They're just like, are you kidding? Like, no, this is it's a feeling of. I personally. I like that.
Right.
There were times that I would compete and I would get up, and even though it's day of, I wouldn't eat.
Right.
And again, as I've gotten older, I don't like drastic weight cuts.
Right.
For somebody on Monday is going to weigh 200 pounds, they're going to weigh 170 on Thursday or Friday. I'm over that. I would like to, if I'm going to fight 145 on Friday, then on Monday I want to be 142.
Right. And with bodybuilding it's different because it's not just a weight, it's an appearance. We have to appear a certain way.
Right.
So you can't just cut a lot of weight. That doesn't matter. It's how you look.
The scale is immaterial.
So now it's getting your body fat percentage down to such a low area where you look like an anatomy chart that you still have to maintain your muscle fullness. You still have to maintain that roundness. So there's a whole lot to it. It's really a science.
Absolutely. Well, Arnold put it best when he said, when you look in the mirror, it's like a sculptor. I need to add some here, I need to take away some here.
And I remember talking to you back when we worked together, and because you're an artist, and I said honestly, bodybuilding's a sport, but I always consider it more of an art.
I agree.
I always consider it more of an art than I do sport. And what I do, like Arnold said, what I do, I feel like I'm an artist, and when I have a client, or even just with myself, I'm looking at the physique and seeing what I need to do to sculpt it the proper way. And whether it be certain types of workouts, certain types of nutrition, whatever we need to do to get it to look a certain way, to get that art form to look a certain way. So in my opinion, bodybuilding is an art more than anything else.
Well, I can't argue that. That's absolutely, it makes perfect sense. There's, again, even when I look at like when I was competing, and even like I look at the shape that I was in there, and I loved how I looked.
Right.
I loved, most importantly,
I remember you showing me pictures.
Yeah, I loved most importantly, I loved how I felt.
Right.
My favorite week is fight week, because now the weight cut, it's there.
Right.
But it's part of it. Again, it's just such a part of the sport that
you're a champion. You deal with it. You don't think about it. You deal with it.
So my whole thing is, okay, cool. Monday through Friday, I'm not going to get punched.
Right.
I'm not going to get kicked. All I'm going to do is work out a little bit. I'll hit the mitts, maybe do some light touch sparring.
Right.
At this point, the hard work is done. I'm already, pun intended, in fighting shape.
Right.
I'm at that point where I know I could run 30 miles if I had to. I know that if any average man on the street put their hands on me, I would. It's that feeling of just being like a coiled up cobra.
Right.
is I love that.
Right.
And when I look back and I see how I look, that's a cool feeling too.
Right.
But you're right. And that's what brought me into as a kid to enjoying bodybuilding is that I see these you are literally a superhero in walking around. So when you talk about being judged on how you look, that's the awe, the aura that as kids, again, growing up and seeing, of course, Arnold, but I started following the sport. I could sit here and drop names like, Stridham and Haney.
Right.
And of course, we talked about Cutler and Coleman and Ronnie. I mean, they're reason. And again, I'm not a guy that's ever competed in this, but I love. One guy that I used to love was Platts. He was known for the quads.
Great friend of mine. Tom's a great friend of mine.
No kidding. Yeah. He was known as the quad guy.
Funny story is, I had COVID, I don't know, a couple months ago, and I get a phone call. Who's calling me? Tom Platts to check about me. Yeah.
How's he doing?
Tom's doing good. Actually, he's been stuck in the States since this whole pandemic because he lives in Italy now. He moved to Italy, him and his wife.
But he's from the States?
Yeah. He originally from Michigan, then Pittsburgh, and then he moved out to LA and became, who he became, and had his career. So he came over here, to visit, and all of a sudden the shutdowns came. And remember where COVID was really bad was in Italy.
Yeah.
And the town he lived in was where it was really bad because it was an older population.
So he couldn't. Yeah.
So he's been stuck here for over a year.
So they still haven't opened that up, or
they're just getting ready to now. So he hasn't seen his wife in about a year and a half.
Well, again, let's hope that things keep leveling off. It seems like that stuff seems.
Right.
Again, as a guy, I travel internationally all the time.
Right.
I want to be able to do that again here soon.
We all want to go back to normal,
Of course.
Everybody has their opinions on the actual pandemic, and we don't need to get into that. I'm glad we're alive, we're safe, we're healthy, and we just want to get back to normal life. Yeah. And personally, I never worried about it for myself, and I don't think you would either, because we take good care of ourselves.
Right. Well, again,
we have a strong immune system.
Right, and that's in my opinion, the overwhelming conversation that has been missed was get yourself healthy.
Right.
Because if and or when, and it's going to be inevitable, that something like this happens again, the best way to combat it is be as healthy as you can.
Right.
Get your body prepared for that.
I'll tell you what, if I can get Tom to come down here, maybe I can get him on your show.
I would love to have him come on the show.
Yeah. You have to see him now. Tom's 67 years old. You got to see his legs right now. I'll show you pictures before we leave. If you want, you can put them on there.
Yeah, send them to me.
It's crazy. So since he was stuck here, and he was staying with my friend Matt out in Pittsburgh, so Matt's a big bodybuilder, so he started getting into working out again because he had nothing else to do. Well, man, you wouldn't believe it. His quads, they look almost like they did back in his prime. And he's loving it. He really got back into working out, and he looks crazy.
Oh, it's amazing how.
And he's 67 years old.
You talk about that passion being reignited. Make lemonade out of lemons. If you're going to be stuck here, you know what? Hook up with somebody that's cool. Hook up with somebody that's into what you're into, and or reignite a passion.
Right.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love to have him on the show.
And he's 67 years old, and he's still putting 4 plates on his back, squatting all the way down to the ground and back up. He's something else. And if you want to talk about passion, have a conversation with Tom, and you just see the passion as he talks. Yeah. And I'll tell you a funny story, because anybody that's into bodybuilding knows, Tom Platts was known for his legs. Yeah. He was 50 years ahead of his time with his legs. Bodybuilders today don't have the legs he had back in 1980. It was amazing. So anyways, because of that, he was always, he had a lot of guest posing gigs where they'd pay him because they wanted to see him. So I guess, one of the things in bodybuilding, when somebody has really good legs, you see them, they'll brush their leg like this and flex it, okay? And they got that from Tom Platts, because Tom Platts used to do that. But Tom Platts said the way that happened, the way he brushed the leg and then flexed it and everybody started screaming, he was guest posing in Germany. And there was lint falling from the ceiling, and it fell on his leg, and it stuck to the oil, and he brushed the lint off his legs that he flexed, and everybody started screaming. So
he ended up sticking with that.
Yeah.
So basically what you're saying is that whole movement of brush your shoulders off, Tom was way ahead of his time.
Way ahead of his time. So everybody thought he did that to show off his legs, and really he was brushing the lint off his leg before he flexed it.
But then he started using it.
Yep, exactly.
It's funny you say that, because I've seen him do that pose.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people try to copy that afterwards, so.
Well, yeah, that guy, that's awesome. It's awesome that he's reignited that passion though. It's great, because I'm absolutely a fan. Because, there were some guys that were just known for, it's the same thing, the story about Ronnie that I've heard other, again, from other bodybuilders is once he would go to that and see that back.
Oh yeah,
once you'd see that, it's like,
it was
okay,
a whole other
show's
level.
over.
There was people maybe somewhat close in the front, but as soon as he turned around, it was over.
Yeah.
That was with Ronnie, with Dorian Yates, even Lee Haney from the back. They dominated.
Yeah,
and
I remember that about him.
And I always tell my clients, whether you're in bodybuilding, whether you're a figure competitor, whether you're a physique competitor, shows are won from the back. Everybody gets themselves looking pretty good from the front.
You know what? I remember you saying that word for word in the group X room when you had people in there and you were showing that. Is it the most muscular is this one,
right,
where you come to like a Hulk Hogan pose?
Correct.
People that are listening. What's it called when you turn to the back?
There's two back poses in bodyweight: back double bicep and back lat spread.
Gotcha.
Rear lat spread.
That's where the hands on the
the
hips.
rear lat spread shows the width and the V taper. Then the back double bicep shows all the detail and the muscularity and thickness in the back.
I remember Haney with the hands on the hips.
Yeah.
He looked like Batman.
Oh, Haney was amazing.
Yeah.
But because you get a lot of people, they look pretty good from the front and it looks close. Then what separates is when they turn around, you see who really did their work.
Yeah.
And it's head to toe from the back. It's your back.
Sure.
It's your lats, your rhomboids. It goes into your glutes, your hamstrings, all the little fine stuff that people didn't do. You see when they turn around.
Do you feel that that's the? Yeah, I mean, that's like I said, separates the men from the boys, if you will.
Right.
One thing that if there's a traditional inside joke or stigma with working out is, see people all the time skipping leg day.
Right.
There's, and to be fair, I'm guilty of that sometimes too.
Right.
But
because it's not fun. It
no,
hurts.
It's not. But the bottom line is, I remember Arnold specifically. There was an interview where somebody asked him, if you could only do one exercise for the rest of your life, what would you do? And he said the squat.
Right.
And I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting maybe a clean or a deadlift or something. Right. But when he described it, he's like, yeah, use your whole body. You do use your whole body. And then there's people that, they don't realize when you skip training legs, when you work your legs, your whole body grows. Exactly.
It releases growth hormone throughout your whole body. So if you're looking to put on muscle and you're not working legs, you're really doing yourself an injustice. Yeah,
and again, the beauty of the body is it is all connected. You have one body. And it's funny that as even in the fight game, when I'm training athletes, I'm a huge proponent of getting strong in the middle.
Right.
Because believe it or not, if I'm strong here and I take a punch to my chin, I'm going to absorb it better, even though I'm stronger here.
That's your central part. It's going to absorb everything.
Everything comes from there.
A chain is only as strong as its weakest link.
Exactly. So it's trying to explain it to some young athletes is weird. Like, why are we doing more crunches or why are we doing more of this? I said, because believe it or not, it makes your chin tougher.
Right.
So if you skip, just like he said, if you skip leg day, your whole body's going to suffer.
Right.
So and I get it. It's because it's hard.
Right.
And because, you can sit there and you do curls and you go to work the next day, you can sit at your desk if you don't have an active job and you'll be sore.
Right.
But you can still function. But if you work your legs, guess what? You have to get up and you got to go to the bathroom when you're at work and you're going to have to go up and down stairs and you're going to have to get in the car. And again, if you're getting results, you're going to be sore.
Oh, yeah, right.
So there's no way to kind of negate that pain.
Right. No, it's painful.
Right. So that's why people don't do it. But again, what I'd say as a coach is, quite frankly, I want you to like me as a person.
Right.
But I don't give a damn.
Right.
My job is to prepare you.
Right.
So if that means more squats or more lifts, or we'll take the heavy bag and we'll kind of move from side to side while we're doing squats. My goal as a coach is to emulate as much as possible what would happen to you in a fight.
I tell my clients all the time, you're going to hate me when we're training, but you're going to love me when you're winning.
Absolutely.
Or, or if they're not a competitor, I said, you're going to hate me now, but you're going to love me when we get you to your goals and you look and feel the way you want to.
Yeah, yeah. And one thing that we talk about motivation and passion and things. One thing that I've experienced as well is, example, if you were forced into a relationship with me and I was your coach, and I was training you and coaching you, and maybe it was a sponsor that forced you to do it with me.
Right.
And even if that was the case, and even if we went all the way to a world championship, because you were put in front of me, you're going to resent me a little bit, even if we have the highest results.
Right.
But if you choose to engage with me as a coach, as a person, and or you choose to compete, you choose to do the work, then regardless of the outcome, That's where that bond, that relationship is there.
Right.
But when you see something special is when the hard work, the bond, the relationship, the growth, and then a world championship or winning an IFBB Pro event
Right.
Over the age of 45, when you accomplish things like, or competing in a sport,
For sure.
still the only guy to take that guy down. Shout out to you, Kevin. No, you're a warrior. When you accomplish things like that,
Right.
For people, you talk about that 1% to do things and to compete on that level. The difference between the 99% and that 1% is, I'll give you an example. When I was training those guys for that fight,
Right.
I brought in some high level wrestlers.
Right. I remember.
And we went through a drill called shark bait.
Yeah.
Where you're going to be out there for 3 minutes, and these guys are one after another are going to kick the shit out of you.
Right.
I said to these guys, I'm like, I don't expect you to beat these guys when you're fresh.
Right. Let them all beat up.
Like, you're not going to beat these guys fresh. They're too good.
Right.
They're too big. They're too strong. They're too skilled. But what you're going to do is you're going to prepare
Right.
for what you could potentially go through in this fight.
For sure.
Now, what mattered to me, and again, they were completely humiliated, which is
Right.
hard to take, especially
for
when
sure.
you're competing in 6 weeks.
Right.
But every single one of them, at some point, they clench their fist.
Right.
Because I take you down, and I take you down, and we're literally, it gets to the point where you're as exhausted as you can be.
Right.
And these guys are pulling you up, so you can get taken down again. What I said was, when the drill was over, and those guys were there, and they were seething and as exhausted as you could be.
Right.
I said to them, like, okay, good news and bad news. You're a fighter. Because what I wanted to see is I wanted you to clench that fist.
Right.
I wanted you to take that step.
Right.
Because knowing that there's no way in hell you're going to beat this guy.
Right.
It's not possible.
Right.
You're not going to, again, you're not going to beat this guy fresh.
Right.
Let alone when you're completely exhausted and you've just been ragdolled for 2 minutes. And I told those guys, so good news, you're fighters. Bad news, now the excuse of I'm tired, I'm hurt, I'm sore.
Out the window.
That's bullshit.
Right.
You've proven that to me now.
Right.
So they went from really being pissed at me, talking about, hate me now, love me later, to
Right.
they had that oh shit moment. Like,
Right.
right. And guess what? What these guys did to you, I know the guys that were fighting, and I've trained them and I know them. Are they tough? Yeah. Are they good everywhere? Yeah. But they're not as skilled as these guys are with this.
Right.
So you're not
If you can handle that.
Right. You're not what you just went through.
Right.
You are not going to experience down there, especially not now. So the point is, when you sometimes that it's delayed gratification. Sometimes it happens a lot quicker than we think.
Right.
And to use that as when you take what matters to me, again, as a coach, I'll never guarantee my athletes are going to win. What I will guarantee is if you follow this plan, this process,
Right.
you'll be as prepared as possible.
I do the same thing. People say, how do you think I'm going to do it? I said, I'll tell you what. I don't know who else is going to show up. I don't know what they're doing to prepare. I know one thing. You're going to be ready. You'll be 100% prepared and ready, and you'll be in a position to win. Who else shows up and what they do, we can't control that. We can control you.
Right. And again, the strategy, my strategy is always very simple. If we have a date, time, location, weight class, rules, uniform, neutral referee, and you're going to be the same size as me, but if I've worked harder than you,
Right.
I have an advantage.
For sure.
Now, of course, you can get into, there's ways that, especially in my sport, like TJ Dillashaw and other people get caught cheating and stuff like that. But in
Right.
the end, if I've worked harder than you, then that's an advantage that I have, because the beauty of combat sports is you could beat me for 2 out of 3 rounds,
Right.
and I can win.
Sure.
There's the strategy as a coach is always, if we're in the same weight class and I've worked harder than you, and over the next 3-5 rounds, whatever we're going to go, if I can put on a stronger pace than you, then I'm going to break you.
Right.
Period. It's a matter of time. But then again, there's always that chance if you could touch my chin, sure. But the statistically, the way to win is outwork.
Right.
Period.
Right.
Period. There's all this and that, and you get into, well, I learned this choke, or I learned this technique, or I learned this pose, whatever. No, if you haven't put in the work and you're not prepared,
right,
then it's all for naught.
The worst thing you do is show up not prepared.
Yeah.
And I got some clients doing a show this weekend, and this one client, he's 51 years old, looks amazing.
That's awesome.
Totally shredded, worked hard.
You're gonna inspire me.
And never seen him complain. He just works, and I'm putting him through some work, and he's working. He's perfect on his diet, and he stripped down and posed for me today, and he's shredded. He's loving it. And he's tired. His body fat's down about 3%.
When's the competition?
This Saturday.
Oh, awesome. Nice.
And I know he's gonna be. And we had that same talk. We don't know who's showing up, but you're ready. And he was telling me, he's like, I do exactly what you say. And he's like, I know some people, they tell me the things they do. And I said, well, you know what? That's on them. That's why you're ready and they're not.
Right.
I said, the worst feeling you can have is when you get there and you get on stage and you look to this way at the person next to you here, and you look at the person next to you over here, and you're like, oh shit, I should have prepared harder. Yeah. I should have did that extra cardio.
There's some funny videos on YouTube of
right.
people that are just like,
well, you can even look good, but there's some people look great. And, and you walk around the gym and everybody's blowing you up because you look good.
Right.
But you don't realize there's people out there working harder.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you see some of these funny videos on YouTube. Some of them are really hilarious. But the ironic thing is, some of those people that should not be on stage.
Right.
If you saw them at the beach down the street here, yeah, that guy's in shape.
Right.
But does not mean you should be able to.
Right.
But it gets into, and again, you'll see it in combat sports too, where somebody at some point should have pulled some of these people aside and said, "Don't get on stage."
Right.
At some point, there's a time to pull.
I always said somebody should have told them.
Yeah, don't get in the cage. You know what I mean? Like, dude, no, don't. Actually, I had that conversation with an athlete. They did it anyway. You'll get into situations like that.
Right.
But in the end, to bring things full circle, if you lead by example and you bust your butt and you work with that passion, and
right.
You get that's why you end up getting results. Is the bottom line is you put in the work.
Right. And
when you do that, that's where the results come from. That's where the loyalty comes from. That's where everything else. And again, I said at the beginning of the show, to case in point, take something that I've created a brand and get recognition and acknowledgement from people, other pro athletes and other people that are not necessarily in the same, business that I'm in. It means a lot. We in the end we fight for a paycheck.
Right.
In the end, that's what you're going to do for a living. But when it's time to go on the ground, whatever you've earned is not coming with you.
It sure isn't.
But if you, with the exception of respect and
respect, love, and a legacy can last forever.
Of course. Yeah. Well, there's as a coach, but for me even more so as an artist.
Right.
I know that I create things. There's things you've seen here in the Scott Cave that are going to outlive me.
Right, for sure.
And on one hand, I would be lying if it said it didn't make me a little sad.
Right.
But on the other hand, I feel almost a responsibility.
For sure.
To when I create a piece, either for myself or for a client, I get to the point where I don't want to sell it.
Right.
I don't want to have to sell it. The big 80s piece that I showed you, that's one that I have a price tag on it, and at some point in time I want to quadruple it because I don't want to be able to.
Right.
I make it what's going to make it worth my while for me to remove myself from that.
Right.
Eventually I want it to be nothing. It's not for sale.
Right.
And I'm pretty close to that now anyway. But there's when you emulate that passion and you have that hard work and you get the results that you do, it's you can't help but inspire. So again, it's I want to thank you for that. It's just because I'm not always in touch daily and everything. The guest the last guest I had on, Joe, he was saying that he's a guy that doesn't necessarily interact all the time on social media, but he watches things from afar. I'm the same way.
Right.
And I don't reach out to people and say I want you on my show just because somebody has a name or just because somebody has a brand or a logo or whatever. I want people on my show that, at least at this point in time, that I have a connection with and a relationship with, and a mutual respect. So,
For sure.
yeah, that's why I really appreciate you coming on.
Oh, there's no way. There was no way I was not going to do this show when you asked me.
I appreciate that
because I have that same mutual respect for you.
Yeah. Well, again, it's an honor and it's a blessing for me to be able to have people on that can share stories and wisdom and gives me a chance to learn something. Again, every guest I've had on so far is somebody I've learned something from.
You take something away from.
Yeah, well, not just I've taken things away from you in the past.
That goes both ways.
But now, again, being able to sit in front of you, and it's again, it's just a blessing for me to be able to do that. So, I thank you for coming on.
Oh, thank you, Scotty.
Anything that you want to talk about, anything you want to plug as far as where you are, what you're training, what you're up to? It's up to you.
Sure. Training at a couple different gyms right now. I'm at Old School Iron in Brook Park and Grafton Barbell in Grafton.
Okay.
And just love what I'm doing, And it's a lot more than just competitors. I do a lot of transformations where I help people,
yeah, you document
lose 150, 200 pounds and change their lives. That's really the greatest feeling, is when you could change somebody's life. Take somebody
that's never going to get on stage, somebody that's never going to get, same thing, somebody that's never going to get in the cage.
Right.
But to see that.
Yeah, and then you see somebody, it totally changes who they are. They get confidence and they start experiencing life and enjoying life. So when you can make a change like that, get somebody off their medications and get them healthy and get them feeling good. I've had clients that have lost 250 pounds, and that's an amazing thing, So it's just a blessing to do what I do and to be able to do something that I'm passionate about and help people with it and be able to make a living doing something that I just love so much and be able to pass it on to other people and make a difference.
Well, that's awesome. And again, let's if you're out there and you're in the area and you're serious about getting results, again, there's a type of training that I offer, and there's a type of things that I can do with my one-on-one training. This gentleman right here, there's a knowledge and experience there that in a different. Different but very similar as far maybe that's an oxymoron, but there's going to be a lot of parallels to the type of training that he does and the type of training that I do, but there's also going to be some things that are dramatically different too.
Right.
So to see those transformations that he's talking about, you jump on social media and you can see pictures and videos and the results that you posted and stuff, and in the end, say what you want about me, my athletes win.
Right, sure.
And say what you want about me, I know I do good work.
Right.
And there's some solace in that, and there's also some pride and some honor in that. And again, it's awesome to be able to have you come on. And so again, if you're out there and you are serious about results, there's a term of in the car industry, if you're not a tire kicker and you want to get serious and you want to get results. This gentleman right here is definitely something to look at.
Right, and if you want to see some of those transformations, even you don't have to train me, just to motivate you, to show you that it can be done, the impossible can be done. Go check out my Instagram, IFBB Pro MIKE ELY, or my Facebook, Big Mike Eli. Check those out and look at some of these transformations. And like I said, I'm not even plugging myself. It's just there are people out there that think it's hopeless. They don't think they can do it. And people around them tell them they can't do it. And I want people to know, you can do it. You can change. You can make a difference. You can take your life back.
Well, I can't imagine a better way to go out. I mean, that's, again, awesome to have you on. And there's, if you're out there and you want results, right here, look them up. And again, sometimes those results can be not necessarily even being hip to hip. It's just see what you've done,
right?
See the results that you've produced with other people, and get out there and bust your butt yourself.
Right.
That's okay too. But what I tell clients is there's nothing that I can teach you that you can't find out on YouTube.
Right. What
I do is I hold you accountable.
For sure, accountability is huge.
Right. So again, I can't imagine a greater note to go out on. Definitely, check him out again. We'll put his contact information back up right here again. Definitely, and again, not necessarily for people that want to get on stage and bodybuild, although if that's a goal, hell, you can't get any better than this. If you're serious about taking your health back, if you're serious about conquering those demons, those challenges that you think you could, well, you just heard a story here about somebody that was told he couldn't do it, and once again, led by example, and it was because of your passion. So
Right.
thank you again for inspiration.
Thank you,
It was
Scotty.
awesome. Mike, having you on, it was awesome. I really appreciate it. Everybody out there, again, stay tuned. We got plenty more great guests coming up, great shows. Definitely a lot of fun things. It's awesome to get the feedback. If you see, if you like what you see, like what you hear, hit that like, hit that subscribe, share it to friends, family. You know, let's spread the word. And again, feedback, I welcome it, including people that want to give me a thumbs down. That's okay. At least I know you're interacting and you're watching with it. At this point, anything that I can do to make the show better, any guest suggestions, anything, definitely fire my way. Anything you want to add there at the end?
No, it's great.
Awesome. Thanks again, Mike. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Scotty.
Guys, we'll see you.
Take care, everybody.